So for a while now, I've been teasing that I'm going to be doing a setup video and just never really got round to doing it. However, FlexiSpot reached out and said, would you like to do a collaboration where we will send you the desk and you feature it in one of your videos? And I thought that this is the perfect opportunity to do such a thing. So without further ado, let us begin the setup tour. So this is the E7 sit-stand premium desk from FlexiSpot. Now, I have actually been wanting a sit-stand desk for a while now, because they do have health benefits to them. Standing up every hour is what is recommended, and if you can do that while still working, then you can perform at your best and continue working for longer hours if you do work from home or you're at an office job for a long period of time. Now, having said that, this is by no means a cheap product. It is a premium desk after all. However, right now at FlexiSpot, they are having a June sale where you can pick up a nice little discount on one of these desks or something else that may take your fancy. One thing I will say is I was a little bit worried about the amount of weight that I could put on the desk, but even with my computer, my full setup on it, and a big fat cat, it still goes up and down perfectly fine, and even Tiggy likes it, which means that it doesn't make too much noise, because he's not too scared of it, as you can see. So if you are looking for a sit-stand desk, then I would definitely recommend FlexiSpot with their E7 sit-stand premium desk. However, there are other options on their website. I'll leave a link in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Thank you very much again to FlexiSpot for this opportunity. So now let's move on to the rest of the video and the rest of the setup, starting out with this chair. This is the Titan Evo 2022 from Secret Labs. I bought this around about a year ago. It's coming up to about a year. It's probably about 10 months or so that I purchased this, and it's held up very, very well. However, this chair is very expensive, so you'd expect nothing less than under a year's use and it holding up absolutely fine. However, even if it isn't, then the warranty periods are actually pretty good. I think it's 3 years base, and then if you put like a social media post, then you can get 5 years warranty on the chair. One thing that is absolutely shocking though is the delivery process. Now in the UK, I don't know if it's different now, but they used XDP. Now this parcel service or courier service is awful. They woke me up at 5:30 in the morning to deliver this chair. And bearing in mind, this is not a light product. So I got up at 5:30 with someone banging on the door, and then I had to yoink this thing inside at 5 and then go back to bed. And to make matters even worse, this was the day after it was meant to be delivered, and I had no knowledge that it was going to happen. So Secret Labs, if you're watching this, please change your courier service from XDP, because from what I can tell from other people as well, XDP in general is not a reliable delivery service, and I would advise against going with them. Apart from that, the chair's been great, and obviously this isn't the chair's fault with the delivery service. However, Secret Labs do hire XDP to deliver. So, you know, I had to add it in there. Next up, we have this microphone. And as some of you are probably well aware, this is the Shure SM7B. Now this is attached to a Fethead, which is like a little inline amp that you can get, which boosts the gain by 27 dB. It is sitting on an Elgato low profile boom arm, and it all links into the Wave XLR. I've been wanting to get this mic ever since I started. It's one of them mics where everybody wants it. It is the studio legend for a reason, and you know, I just wanted to have one, okay? And as I've got more successful with YouTube, I've saved up some money and then bought it, and now we're here. So I am extremely happy with this microphone. A lot of people say that it's overrated. I don't think so. If you EQ it right, it's beautiful. And then speaking about the Wave XLR, that nicely puts us into the Wave XLR and also my Streamdeck. Now, I do not use the Streamdeck to its full potential, and I am aware of this. I am working on learning what it fully can do, but there is so much that it can do that it's almost overwhelming with how much you have to learn, and it's only your mind that is the limiting factor. But the Streamdeck is a recent addition to my setup, and I am very fortunate that Mr. Table actually sent me that for free. I didn't have to pay for it. So once again, thank you, Mr. Table, for the gift. I'm always going to be insanely grateful to this community, and the fact that there's people that will go out of their way, like Mr. Table, and give me something like this just for making content, I really do owe you guys a lot. Now moving on to the mouse and keyboard, and both of these have changed since I've started doing YouTube. I actually originally started YouTube with a Ducky 1.2 Mini, which is just a 60% keyboard, and it's completely compact. I do love this thing. However, I was starting to wish that I had the function keys, and then when I was looking for a new keyboard, I thought, okay, well, I might as well get the numpad as well, because the numpad is incredibly useful, especially before I had the Stream Deck, because I could bind the OBS scenes to it just on the numpad, so I could just hold down like Alt and then press 1, 2, 3, whatever it might be. And it was very, very useful for that respect. And while searching, I then settled on the Keychron K4. Now this has Gateron G Pro Browns for the switches. They're pre-lubed, it works fine. I tell you what, searching for a keyboard is an absolute rabbit hole that if you then go into like the custom keyboard section, it's a nightmare. Don't bother, okay? Don't worry about any of that. Just try and get one that's a decent make. Ducky, Keychron, both of them I've had no issues with. But if you go custom, you're going to be spending a lot of money and then a lot of time as well researching. So I settled just on the Keychron K4. It's got G Pro Browns, as I said. I wanted brown switches. It's a nice in-between from the blues and the reds. So I wanted it to be still semi-tactile, which there is still a little bit of a bump, not a lot, but you can definitely feel it. And I wanted it to be still semi-quiet. So browns is where it's at for me anyway. I love this keyboard to bits. It does take a while to actually get used to the compact design because it's obviously much more compact than regular full-size keyboards. There's no space in between, so all the keys are just there together as one. But once you do, it's absolutely fine. So that is a 100%. I recommend that keyboard completely. Not sponsored or anything, but that is a very, very good keyboard and I do love it. Moving on to the mouse, this is a Razer Viper V2 Pro. Now I did have beforehand a G Pro Superlight, and although it was very, very good, I was noticing that I was misclicking sometimes because I feel like the triggers or the buttons just became way too sensitive. So I was starting to, misfire randomly, and I was aiming in sometimes when I didn't want to aim in or whatever. But it was, just in different games. So in FPS games, right click would be to aim in, for example, when I was aiming in for no reason, even though that I was barely touching it. So that started happening, and I started looking around and then decided, yeah, we'll try the Razer Viper V2. This is not bad. I mean, it's a mouse at the end of the day. I don't think that you are going to find your perfect mouse unless you shop around and buy a lot of mice and then test them and then use them like on a daily basis. Because finding yourself the right mouse can actually be a pretty big challenge. Especially, the same goes for keyboards as well. But especially nowadays where there's so many different mouse designs and variations, it's kind of hard to find one that fits you perfectly. So I don't think the Razer Viper V2 Pro is the perfect mouse, but it's definitely up there with one of the best at the moment in the current market. I don't know if the shape's for me yet, but we'll see how it goes. In the next setup video, it could be completely different. Next, the headphones. These are Beyerdynamics DT770 Pros. Now this is the 250 ohm version, and I didn't actually show this, but there is a little tiny DAC/amp, which is like a Theo 2K or something like that. I don't know. Whatever one it is. It's like a £50 amp off Amazon. It's not super expensive. It's just a basic amp to power these headphones. Although, I will say, most desktops now come with a headphone jack that's actually got enough impedance to power most headphones that you would use. Even these, sure, I'd have to turn it up quite a lot, but it would still power them. These headphones I love. I have found these are my perfect headphones. I've had ones. I've had the exact same pair before. I broke them. I then bought the same pair. I've had enough of going through headphones and trying out different ones. I do have Audio-Technica M50Xs, which I have as spares in case these break, and then I can use them in between when I just buy a new pair of these. So I've tried Audio-Technica. I've had the M40Xs. I've had M50Xs, but these I've found suit me the best. They're nice and big. They're very, very roomy inside. They do look a little bit too big on camera, I won't lie, but at the end of the day, I really don't care because these are super comfy. I can wear them for long hours with no issue at all, and I just forget they're there half the time. So I highly recommend them. I've not tried the open back versions. However, because I have an AC that's a portable AC that sits literally just over there in my room, which is just opposite. You've probably seen it in the old camera angles where it would just sit there. It's a big, hideous white thing that, I mean, I wish I could actually change it for something that's maybe grey or black or something like that would blend in more with the room. But it sits there and it's very, very loud. So I cannot go with open back earphones because it just doesn't work. I need closed back, and once then I get the music going through them or sounds going through them, then it just drowns everything else out. So very good noise cancellation and isolation, even though that there's no built-in like, you know, noise cancellation feature or anything like that. Just very good solid noise isolation from the actual ear cups. And yeah, I can't rate them highly enough. I do recommend them. And also, as you've probably seen, I do keep post-it notes on my desk basically at all times because they are so good for just writing things down. It's so underused nowadays that everything gets put online to write their notes. But if I can quickly just grab a pen and write something down on like a tiny little post-it note, I then just leave it there. And I would just be constantly reminded because it's a constant thing that's there. Sure, I could open it up on like a second monitor or something and just keep it there. But it's not as good as when you actually write something down physically, you remember it more. Like it doesn't matter, at least for me. So I write something down, I then remember it. I do also have a notebook that I like to keep a few longer notes in. If I am planning something that's kind of big, then I'll write that down into there. But for the most part, write something down on a post-it note, be done. Leave it. I normally write like the schedule for what the videos are that I have planned, and then I just have them written down there. Can leave them there. I know what I'm doing for the rest of the week. And now we move to the monitors. Now on my right hand side we have a like really budget 4K 60 Hz monitor. This is like secondhand off eBay. I recommend that a lot, by the way, because if you can get something that's very, very cheap secondhand that's still decent off eBay as your secondary monitor, it's 100% worth it if you're not going to be looking at it constantly, or not as much. So it's just a budget 60 Hz monitor to the right. The middle one is a Gigabyte M28U, which is 4K, 144 Hz. The only downside to it is that HDMI ports are only, well, they're 2.1, but they're limited to, I think, like 20 gigabit for the bandwidth, which makes no sense when they're meant to be 40. So it's very annoying in that regard. And with that comes the issue of if you play in full screen, you then, when you alt-tab, get a black screen and you have to wait like 5 seconds in between tabbing in and out. So that's not great, but if you play window borderless, you can get around this issue completely because you won't be needing to tab in and out, and it will work absolutely fine. And then to the left, I have my old 1440p monitor, which I have had for absolutely years. I don't even know how long I've had this monitor for, but it has been a workhorse of a monitor. Ever since I started, not since I started YouTube, but a good, maybe quite soon after I started YouTube, I got this monitor. And it's just been great. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's carried me through, you know, whatever I've needed to do. As I've obviously grown and been wanting to make better videos, I then moved into 4K, and then I can record 4K natively, away from kind of 1440p. And then if I wanted to kind of dynamic super resolution it to 4K, it's then not great because it doesn't look exactly correct. Whereas just if you record native 4K, get a 4K monitor, it's better. This monitor has been great for me, and now it's just used as a vertical monitor where I use OBS and Discord, and that's basically all it's used for. So 2 4K monitors. I will eventually change the 1440p monitor to a 4K monitor, probably buy another one of the cheap 4K ones, and then put that vertically, and then I have 3 4K monitors with all the real estate that I could possibly want. Above the monitors, there are 2 different lights. There is this massive softbox that I recently got. I've only had this about a week or so now, but it's great because it lights up everything. I've been wanting to upgrade my lighting forever. I used to have just 2 little lights that would be either side of my desk, and they'd be pointing up so that it would then kind of like act like a fill light. But now with this, I then readjusted all the exposure and stuff, and honestly, learning lighting and camera angles and stuff like that is a nightmare. I am not good at this, like at all. Like even the lighting now, it's okay, but I wouldn't describe this as perfect lighting conditions. But I am learning as I go along, and obviously with practice comes results. For now, this is good. I'll probably work out a better solution, but this is how it is at the moment. Off to the right, we then have a ring light. And if you look closely, yes, that is zip tied to my computer. It doesn't have the 1/4-inch mount anymore. Yep, it's gone. So it now just has to be zip tied to my computer. Eventually, I'll buy a ring light and it will work, and I'll put it somewhere. Maybe I'll put it around the camera. Who knows? But for now, that kind of acts like a little like extra light that just helps with the camera angle, because obviously the camera is from my right. So I need another light source coming in. I do have my window to my right, but it doesn't provide enough light. Even like right now, my blinds are open, but it's going to not give enough light in. Like, if we could turn it off right now. And I mean, it doesn't look too bad, but you can definitely notice that some of the lighting has gone from the image now. Whereas then if we enable it again, it's a little bit nicer. It just adds a nice little bit of kind of ambient lighting to it. And obviously with the lighting comes the camera. Now I'm still using a webcam currently. It is a Razer Kiyo Pro. It's fine. It's 1080p, 60 FPS. It can go into 720p with a HDR mode, although I usually just keep it in the 60 FPS one because, you know, it's nice and smooth. Eventually I will upgrade to a DSLR, but obviously money, it costs quite a bit to actually get a decent DSLR camera, especially if I want to do, if I want to do 4K 60 FPS, then it's going to be a lot of money. But if I want to do 1080p 60, and it's going to be still a decent chunk of money, but at least not over 1,000. But still, everything else as well added in, it's going to be quite a decent investment into getting a DSLR camera and everything set up. So I will get one eventually. Again, maybe in the next setup tour, there might be one. And now for probably the one thing that you've all been waiting for, the computer. Now it sits currently behind my right-hand monitor, where it still gets more than enough airflow because of the way it's sat, especially considering that it's sitting directly in the face of the AC. So you get basically all the cold air just going straight to it, which is lovely. But yeah, it's in a decent position. It's as good as I can do it. It's obviously got to be above the desk because we're using a sit-stand desk as well. But the specs, that's what you really care about. CPU, Intel 12900KS, which, yep, I don't know why I bothered getting it, to be honest with you. This thing is quite annoying, I won't lie. It runs hot, very hot. It will thermal throttle if you put it under full load. I don't recommend getting a 12900KS. It wasn't worth it. At some point, I will change the CPU and just hope that I don't get one that's a absolute melting mess. I'll probably go to AMD or something if I do change, but that's besides the point. 64 gigabytes of RAM, which is 5,600 megahertz. It's got two M.2 SSDs in it, one for the OS and one for content creation, so recordings and stuff like that. There's a 500 gigabyte M.2 for the OS, and then a 1 terabyte for the recordings. And then I have a normal SATA SSD to put all my excess games on and stuff like that. And then, of course, for the GPU, we do have the RTX 4090, and it is absolutely massive. When I actually got this, I needed to change case because it wouldn't fit in my case with the current setup that I had. And I'm always going to be transparent with people and with you as my audience. That 4090 is financed. I didn't outright buy it. I am not some rich person on the internet. As much as, you know, it may seem like that, this whole setup has either taken a long, long time to create with saving up money and buying different things, or I financed it. And through your support, whether that just be watching my videos, just simply being a viewer, going into, you know, watching the videos every day and whatnot, running through the ads and everything else like that, I've been able to just afford these different things and then hopefully bring you the best content that I can. And at the time, it made complete sense to do this. I'm not paying any interest on the 4090 through finance or anything like that. So it's a no-brainer, and they got it for pretty much MSRP, which is like unheard of at the time. At least MSRP for what it was roughly going for at the time, which was around about 1.6K. And that is obviously in pounds. So as I said, that is more than most people's computers in one single piece of hardware. And I know that the comment section will always, you know, oh yeah, look, showing off with 4090. At the time, I wanted to get as good as I could, and that was as good as it could. But yeah, that is the current setup. That is the computer and everything else. Here is a quick look at the cable management, whether or not you Give me a rating out of 10 for the cable management. The overall kind of setup for my my desk is that I want it to be very minimalist, but also fully functional. Like on the right hand side, for example, where I have the controls for the sit stand functionality, I actually have a little tiny USB-C cable which is connected to the back of my computer, and I can just plug my phone in to quickly transfer stuff, or even plug in an external SSD to quickly transfer stuff. And it's a super fast cable. It's like the Gen 3.2 by 2, whatever it is. Okay, like I hate the USB naming scheme, but I have one of them that I can quickly transfer stuff to and from my computer. Yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was a worthwhile watch. As I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you all in the next video.